Well, hello.
Hi.
And welcome.
Oh, that wasn't to me.
Sure it was, babe. Welcome to I'll Drink to Fact, a True Story vs. Hollywood podcast, where we talk about your favorite true story movies and compare them to the true stories. And,
That's it. That's all we do. And we drink.
That's it. I'm off the rails already. I haven't even drank that much. Yeah, so we compare them to the facts from the actual case and let you know which movies are full of fact or full of crap. So we are doing something different, sort of mid-weeky here. We're still going to do our main episode this coming weekend. We just released An American Crime, the Sylvia Likens story. But we also want to talk about maybe some movies that are coming out soon. Katie, why don't you tell everybody what we've got going on?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to announce that we're starting a new segment or new type of show for our podcast. As Daniel said, we're going to do these in addition to our normal podcasting schedule. But the goal with this segment is to talk about the true stories behind new movies before they come out, so you can go to the theaters with more information about the stories that inspired the movies. After we see the movies in theaters, we're going to do a quick synopsis, so they'll kind of be like a part 1, part 2 to each episode. We'll do a synopsis on how close we thought the movie was to the true story. One thing I didn't know how to kind of address, but if you're at all like me and hate movie spoilers, I guess we'll kind of spoil the ending, but at the same time, these are historical true stories, so it's like the ending's out there. Like, do you say you're spoiling the end of Titanic when everyone knows the ship already sinks at then? Spoiler alert, sorry.
Right. I don't know. Sometimes movies, especially when we deal with true story movies, they change up the ending a little bit. So, and like you said, most people, if you are into true stories and movies coming out, you probably already do research before you go see the movie. So you might already know the story.
Right. And I guess we're not necessarily ruining choices that the director or the writer might be making. So I guess it's all about the journey, hey?
Yeah.
So I guess we will be talking about the ends of these stories and what happens to the people. So just keep that in mind, I guess.
Yeah, cool. So before we get started, what's in your cup?
Well, since we're doing the same thing but kind of doing it differently, I did the same thing but kind of did it differently. A cocktail that I've done before. It's a take on my adult cream soda. But I just made it with cream soda and Di Serrano. So it just tastes like cream soda, but it's alcoholic and delicious.
It sounds good.
It is. What's in your cup?
To continue with the trend of changing things up a bit, but doing the same thing over again, or however you eloquently described it, and I'm butchering now. I redid kind of the candy soda that I made a few episodes back. We had some cherry soda by Jolly Good that you said you drank a lot when you were a kid. I'd never tasted until recently. Threw that with a little bit of sweet and sour, some vodka in it. And
Peach vodka, right?
Yeah, peach vodka.
It's good.
That's right. Yeah, it's tasty. So, the movie that we're talking about today, right, or that we're talking the true story of,
well, yeah,
is the movie's called The Vanishing, right? Or I think it was tentatively titled The Keepers.
Right. At one point early on, it was called The Keepers, and it was released under the name The Vanishing.
So this movie it's currently, you can stream it. I think they just showed it at Sundance, and I'm not sure if it has a theatrical release. We weren't able to find it in theaters, so I don't know if it will be released later in the year.
I saw limited theatrical release, so it could be like New York and LA.
Houston, yeah.
Right, but I checked Chicago, but they didn't have any showings from what I saw. But I did see it said limited theatrical U.S. release, so I don't know if we like necessarily dropped the ball on this one, but yeah, technically it's already out there. And our goal will be in the future to do this a little bit before the movies come out.
We've got some other ones lined up that we're going to release before they come out. But this one is streaming online now. So if you listen to this and you want to check it out, just search for The Vanishing online. I think it's on Amazon Prime for like $6.99 right now.
Yep, you can rent it on Amazon Prime, Google Play Video, YouTube, and Vudu. That's where I've seen it so far.
Cool. Cool.
And officially, they already have a date for the Blu-ray and DVD release, which is going to be March 5th of this year. So
okay, so maybe there won't be a massive, like a major theatrical release.
Or maybe we just missed it. I don't know.
I
mean, technically it's a Scottish movie, so I think it might be in like a... I know there are Sundance theaters, like there was one in Madison, so maybe in the Sundance theaters. I don't know.
Okay. So, why don't you indulge us with the true story that inspired The Vanishing?
I would love to. So the movie is described as a psychological thriller set in the Flannan Isles, which have been notorious for the mystery disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers in 1900. Hence the name Keepers.
Like literally 1900, not just the 1900s.
Yes.
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
Yeah. Party like it's 1900.
Like the storm of 1900 and...
Not familiar with it, but yes.
It's Galveston, so...
Oh, okay. So to kind of help you get your bearings on geography, so for anyone that's like me and has thought that the United Kingdom kind of looks like a rabbit with a carrot, like Ireland and Northern Ireland being the carrot, you know what I'm saying? It kind of looks like a rabbit.
Okay.
So the Flannan Isles are the smaller group of islands that are northwest of the larger group of islands that are northwest of the Rabbit Ears. If it were a rabbit. Are you looking?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
No, because, I'm using my phone and it's taking its sweet time. And okay, I see small islands. I'm zooming out.
See the Rabbit Ears?
Nope, too far. Nope.
I'm in space.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Yep. I think I see rabbit ears. Yes, I see rabbit ears, and okay, I guess I get the carrot thing.
It's like a rabbit sitting up on its haunches.
Yep.
With a tail.
Yep.
And then the ears.
Yep.
Okay. Am I the only one who thinks that?
That's creative, but yeah, I mean, I can kind of see it. It is definitely a deformed rabbit. It's no rabbit that like anybody would like.
It kind of looked like a rabbit I had growing up. He had like little shorty ears. He was a dwarf bunny.
Sorry.
Anyway. And on that note.
So tell us more about the true story and not about your special rabbit.
Aww. His name was PJ.
I'm sure it was.
The Flannan Islands, they're a group of 7 islands. They're also nicknamed the 7 Hunters for their infamy in sending even the most experienced sailor to a watery grave. The largest and most northerly island is called Ilian Moor, which is where the lighthouse, where the keepers disappeared from, is located. The lighthouse itself is 75 feet tall, and it was first lit on December 7th, 1899. Almost exactly 1 year after the lighthouse was commissioned, the steamer ship Archer was en route from Philadelphia to Leith, Scotland, when it noticed that the light was not operational in the poor weather conditions. When the ship docked in Leith 3 days later on December 18th, 1900, this information was passed along to the Northern Lighthouse Board, which is the general lighthouse authority for Scotland and the Isle of Man.
Okay. I'm familiar with the Isle of Man.
Yep. It's between the carrot and the rabbit. Carrot and the rabbit.
They have a big motorcycle race every year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's like a massive thing.
Cool. So due to bad weather, a relief vessel was not able to leave from Lewis, Scotland on December 20th as planned and couldn't reach the island until December 26th. The lighthouse was supposed to be manned by 3 men, Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur, with a rotating 4th man who was on shore leave at the time. So, I don't know if it's Ducat or Ducat. I'm going to say Ducat. Ducat, with 21 years of experience, was appointed as the principal keeper. Marshall was designated as second, and MacArthur took the position of first assistant. When the relief crew arrived, they noticed several things amiss. First, the flagstaff had no flag. I guess typically when, if there were people in the lighthouse and they would see people coming, they would put up a certain flag as a signal to let them know that they saw them and were coming down to help them.
Okay,
disembark.
So it's more of a signal flag than a nationality sort of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it was more of like a signal flag. So they didn't see them, acknowledge their presence. None of the usual provision boxes had been left on the landing stage for restocking. None of the crew appeared to welcome the relief crew to shore. The captain of the relief vessel attempted to notify the keepers by blowing his ship's whistle and firing a flare, but received no response. So once Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, made it to shore, he found the entrance gate to the compound and the main door both closed. The beds were unmade, and the clock had been stopped.
There's, like, no flag, but there's a ton of red flags.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Upon further inspection, they found that the lamps were cleaned and refilled. A set of oil skins, which I think are also slicker suits, kind of like the...
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, to protect you from the wet.
Yeah.
Were found, suggesting that one of the keepers had left it on the island or went missing without them, which is surprising considering the severe weather on the date of the last entry in the lighthouse log, and I'll get to that. And the only sign of anything amiss was an overturned chair by the kitchen table. There was no sign of the keepers anywhere inside the lighthouse nor anywhere on the island.
Interesting.
Upon searching the island, the relief crew found that everything was intact at the east landing, again, kind of like the east dock, but there was considerable damage found at the west landing. So basically this island has two docks, the east dock and the west dock. They have them on different ends so that at least one dock will always be sheltered.
Oh, gotcha.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, like sheltered from high winds, depending on which way the wind's coming from.
Yeah.
So at the west landing, a box located more than 100 feet above sea level had been broken and its contents strewn about. Iron railings were bent over and the iron railway by the path was wrenched out of its concrete. A rock weighing more than a ton had been displaced, which I'm like, are you like that? I remember that specific boulder was supposed to be over here and now it's over here.
Well, I mean, I guess, was it lower than it should have been? Was it higher than it should have been? Was there evidence that it had been moved? You know, like, was there, like, massive place where it had been sitting and now it's...
Maybe, I don't know, because there wasn't a lot of detail about it. It just kind of said it was displaced. Yeah, it didn't say if it was, like, had rolled down a hill or,
right,
like,
or
they had a track. There was a track that led...
Or a storm that had, like, had some sort of, like, landslide or erosion going...
Yeah, okay. That's all it said.
Interesting.
On a cliff that was more than 200 feet above sea level, the turf had been ripped away as far as 33 feet from the cliff edge. So, like, up 200 feet and then over 33 feet, they had noticed damage. The last entry in the lighthouse log was at 9 a.m. on December 15th.
And this was the 26th, you said? 26th?
That they had gotten there, yes.
Okay.
So the last entry in the lighthouse log was at 9 a.m. on December 15th, which was the same date that other ship had sailed by and noticed that the light was off at the lighthouse. So it was clear that this damage at the west landing had occurred before the disappearance of the keepers because they had noted it in that entry.
Okay. Gotcha.
So this means that the keepers were alive the morning of December 15th, but by the time the Archer had passed by that evening, the lighthouse was not lit, so we can deduce that something had happened in between that time frame to the keepers.
Okay.
On December 12th, the log entry by Marshall described, quote, severe winds, the likes of which I have never seen before in 20 years. He wrote that Duckett had been quiet and MacArthur had been crying, which was odd coming from a man with a reputation as a tough and experienced seafarer. The next day, December 13th, Marshall reported more storm details and wrote that they had all been praying. All of this was very odd considering that there were no storms reported in the area on the 12th, 13th, or 14th, and the next storm in the area wasn't until December 17th. So that last log on December 15th read, quote, storm ended, sea calm, God is over all. And that's kind of the last anyone has heard from the keepers. None of their bodies have ever been found.
Like, that's it?
That's it. So because none of their bodies have ever been found, and considering the strange circumstances, many theories have been speculated as to what happened to the three of them. One of the theories is that one keeper murdered the others and then threw himself into the sea. One is that a giant sea serpent or giant seabird carried the men away. This is theory number 2. So, like, either everyone murdered each other or... a
giant seabird.
Yeah.
Took everybody away.
Yep. They were abducted by foreign spies. A boat filled with ghosts called the Phantom of the Seven Hunters, which I think essentially are the ghosts of sailors who have died among the jagged islands. Like I said, there were 7 islands called the Seven Hunters because they have this reputation for causing sailors to run into them basically and die, which is why the lighthouse was built in the first place. They're trying to kind of help alleviate the number of shipwrecks.
I mean, if you look at them, they're kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there's a theory that the ghosts of these sailors were upset by the presence of the lighthouse, and so kind of took their rage out on the keepers. In fact, the only other people who touch the island are shepherds who bring their sheep to graze on the island, but they refuse to stay the night on the island because they believe it is touched by something paranormal. Which I thought it was interesting that shepherds bring their sheep all the way out just to graze, and they don't even like stay the night. So it's like you have to go out there, let your sheep graze, and then take them back before the day's over. But
it seems like, I don't know,
so much work.
Yeah.
The last popular theory is aliens.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, my mind went there, you know.
Right?
Especially with that 2-ton, 1-ton rock displaced.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact that clocks, I don't know if there are if there's one clock or multiple clocks, but the fact that a clock or clocks were stopped. So on December 29th, 1900, Robert Muirhead of the Northern Lighthouse Board conducted an official investigation into the incident. He concluded that Duckett and Marshall had gone down to the western landing and MacArthur had left the lighthouse in his shirt sleeves. So you know how I said there was one pair of oilskins left?
Yeah.
Those belonged to MacArthur, and the oilskins for Duckett and Marshall were gone. So they believe that those two men put on their suits and left. They went to the west landing, and then MacArthur went out after them, not in his oil suit.
Okay.
He noted that whoever left the light last and unattended was in breach of the NLB rules, which I'm like, come on, guy. Like, how can you, like, why are you bringing that up when it's like, these people are dead?
Aliens, okay? And I bet there was nothing in the NLB rules about fucking aliens.
That's probably true. I would agree with that.
You know,
right.
There's no paragraph on what happens when fucking aliens show up.
Exactly. So I was just like, okay, way to bring that up. But here's an excerpt from his report. From evidence which I was able to procure, I was satisfied that the men had been on duty up till dinner time on Saturday, the 15th of December, that they had gone down to secure a box in which the mooring ropes, landing ropes, etc. were kept, and which was secured in a crevice in the rock about 110 feet above sea level, and that an extra large sea had rushed up the face of the rock, had gone above them, and coming down with immense force had swept them completely away.
So rogue wave came in and kind of flushed them out to sea because they were somewhere they shouldn't have been.
Well, yeah. So here are some other details that later research has kind of uncovered. So the coastline of this island has many narrow gullies called geos, and the west landing is situated in one of these geos, and it ends in a cave. So in high seas or storms, the water would rush into the cave and then like exit with tremendous force. So it's possible that MacArthur might have recognized kind of what was happening and ran down to the west landing to warn his colleagues, only to be swept away in a swell himself. So the theory is like if the two of them went down to like secure some equipment and he saw like that they were in danger, that he just rushed out and ran out there to try and warn them.
Which, I mean, you know, definitely makes sense if they were both in their oilskins.
Yeah.
And, you know, he wasn't, and he disobeyed an NLB rule of all things.
Right.
Because he was worried about the safety of his men, you know?
Right. Yeah. And I think that would also explain, like, the toppled over chair. Because, like, if he was, like, sitting there and then, like, saw what was happening and, like, stood up really quickly.
Well, gee willikers.
Right.
Goes running out, yeah.
Yeah. With that theory, though, here's a couple more details. It's also been discovered that Marshall was previously fined when his equipment was washed away in a huge gale, so it's possible that he and Duckett were trying to avoid another fine and went out into the terrible storm to try and secure the equipment but got washed away. So that could explain why the two of them would have gone out in the storm in the first place if it was like so terrible, because they had been fined in the past.
By the NLB.
Right, probably. And again, even though one man is required to stay behind and man the lighthouse, it's possible that MacArthur was trying to help or warn his colleagues and got swept away too. It's also possible that one of the men was washed out into sea and the other two were trying to rescue him and got swept away themselves. And allegedly, MacArthur has a volatile temper, so it's theorized that he may have started a fight, which led to all three men plummeting to their deaths. Which I don't know if I believe that, but...
Interesting.
Yeah. So with that theory, though, of, you know, the two of them are out at the dock trying to secure equipment, and then he rushes out to try to help them or try to help save someone. What it doesn't explain is that the 2 doors were closed, the main door and the gate to the compound. So I didn't see any clear explanations of what that is, but I imagine it's like the main door to the lighthouse and then maybe a gate surrounding the lighthouse. So both of those were closed. So the theory is if he was in such a rush to go out and help them, to the point where he toppled over a chair and didn't have time to put on his oilskin, which you would think if it was a severe storm, like maybe you would prep yourself. So he decided not to put on his oilskins, but decided to close the door and the gate behind him.
I mean, I definitely see your point. The door, maybe wind. I don't know how the gate latched shut.
Right.
So, possibly wind could have closed it, but yeah, I honestly don't know
point.
Without knowing how
it's set up.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I don't understand is the fact that the clock or clocks was stopped.
I mean, maybe that one's just pure fucking coincidence and the battery died.
I wonder if they were those old-timey wind-up clocks where, it's like you have to wind them.
Possibly.
But
I don't know enough about clocks to know when, those left mass production and batteries took over.
Yeah, that's fair. But I would be curious to know if there were multiple clocks and if they were all stopped at the same time, which would be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. That's kind of like there's no explanation as to what happened to these men other than that report by the NLB. So to this day, it's just still kind of a mystery. I guess the generally accepted is that the 2 men were trying to secure equipment and they got swept away and he went out to warn him. But I don't know. Watching the trailer for this movie, 1, I'm really excited about it. And 2, it definitely looks like, I'm just going to say it from the trailer, it looks like they take some liberties into what was going on.
I would definitely say they try to dramatize. Dramatize! God damn it! First episode all over again.
Still haven't learned. More than 10 episodes later.
I would say they definitely dramatize what goes on. Definitely try and build, make a thriller out of it. So, I don't know. I'm interested to watch it.
Yeah. Intriguing.
And we will, Yeah,
so go out and watch The Vanishing. Like we said, doesn't look like there's going to be an official U.S. release, but you can rent it on various streaming services.
We will probably be watching it tonight.
Yeah.
Is that all you have for us?
That's all I have. That's it. That's the
awesome.
Story.
Well, cool. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely going to be hard with not knowing what the hell happened to them anyway. It's going to be hard to, prove fact.
That's true.
I guess the fact will lie in the few sparse details that we do know.
Right. I think it'll lie in, 1, I'm curious if they go through the recovery effort and people noticing, hey, the lighthouse isn't working, and then they go through the investigation on the island. I think that'll probably be where some details could be true or false. Do they show what was found correctly? For example, in researching this true story, one of the details that is frequently incorrect is that people think that there was a meal left on the table that hadn't been eaten, but in the true story, they didn't find a meal at the table. What had happened was a few years later, a poet wrote a poem about the story and included the detail, something about they left their food out on the table to give it more that air of mystery, what happened, all of a sudden he up and left a full meal on the table, but that wasn't true. But because of that poem, right, it's kind of like the Mandela effect, where people think that they remember, oh, well, there was a meal left on the table, that's really weird, but that's in real life they didn't find food out on the table.
Okay.
So I'll be curious to see if they work that in or if they stay away from it. Awesome. Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode. Go check out this movie. We'll have some more of these coming out, so stay tuned. Yeah. We'll also have more of our regular episodes coming soon. We got Helter Skelter coming this weekend. If you do see the movie and you want to send us something, send us an email at drinktofact@gmail.com. You can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Drink to Fact. And you can hear us on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, and YouTube. Did you have anything else?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, like always,
please rate, review, and subscribe.
We'll see you at the end of the week.
Cheers.